How does the murder of babies become entertainment? I live in the state of New South Wales in Australia, and the story I'm about to present to you is from here, not very far from here actually, the feel new state of the Australian tourism. Let's throw in a few truth bombs here, so I'll give you a bit of background. Between 1788 and 1868, Britain transported over 160,000 convicts, men, women and children, from England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. This system began as a solution to Britain's overcrowded prisons after the loss of the American colonies. Convicts were sent to Australia to build a new penal colony and provide cheap labour for roads, farms and public works. Many served their sentences and were then granted land, becoming part of a growing settler population, expanding far beyond Sydney into Aboriginal land. This became the foundation of a society forged through control and colonization. As freed convicts spread into Aboriginal countries, conflict became inevitable. It's strange that you can be a convict and then after that you are able to get free land. If only that happened today, isn't it? How odd. Anyway, back to the story. My presentation stands as a symbol of this collision and atrocity born from a penal past, racial dehumanization, and the brutal expansion of the empire. So let's begin by taking you back on the journey back into time. So please bear with me as I set the scene. The year is 1838 and the location, Myall Creek. The morning began with birdsong. It filtered through the gum leaves in wavering lines of gold, dancing on the damp red soil outside the woman's shelter. Little Garu, no more than a handful of seasons old, giggled at the way the light played on his fingers. His mother, Ewan, brushed his cheek with hers, humming the old song her own mother had sang. So there had been peace in this place for a time, a brief peace, like a breath held too long, but that breath shattered before the sun reached its highest. And so they came on horseback, pale faces masked with dust, voices loud and twisted like rusted wire. No warning, no words exchanged. The women were the first to see them, but it was too late to run, too late to shield their children. The men had gone hunting. Only women, elders, and children remained. The riders dismounted. Their boots trampled fire circles, still warm from the morning cooking. Ewan didn't remember falling. She remembered a hand tearing Garu from her chest. She remembered the cries, like dying birds, rising from the others. But she remembered the laughter, cold, unnatural, then blackness. When she woke, it was night. The stars blinked down indifferently, but she was bound to a tree, wrists raw and burning. Something sticky had dried on her chin, around her, whimpering, some from the woman, others from the wounded earth beneath them. So days bled into each other, as did the bruises. But the riders came and went. Sometimes one would choose a woman to drag away, sometimes two. They gave no names, they brought no mercy. Each morning the air grew heavier. The scent of rot crept from the edges of the camp like a ghost with no name. Somewhere, just out of sight, the children were kept. Garu, her Garu, his laugh was gone. Only a silence was answered when she whispered his name into the bark of the tree. I call this piece Dance with the Dragonflies, and I welcome you to another episode of A Violent Silence. One evening, near dusk, one of the riders made a joke in the strange English tongue. The others burst into cruel laughter. One of them glanced at her as he laughed. She saw his foot move in an arc and heard a sound like wet clay hitting stone. But the laughter grew louder. So they buried babies, only with their heads above ground. All in a row they were. Then they had tests to see who could kick the babies' heads off the furthest. One man clubbed the baby's head off from horseback, but then spent the rest of the day raping the woman. So most of them were then tortured till they died. They tied the men's hands behind their backs, then cut off their appendages and watched them run around screaming until they died. That night was the night she stopped praying to the old spirits. Even the old ones, it seemed, could not hear her. The chain around her ankle left grooves in her skin, so her hands were free now, but numb. Her eyes were swollen, her mind floated above her. A spirit already trying to escape the body it no longer wished to wear. And yet, she watched, she saw the others fade, some taken away in the dark, never to return, others left to wither like leaves scorched by flame. The children were disappearing, not one by one, but all at once. By then, the fires had stopped. No one cooked, no one sang. The ground had stopped bleeding, but the sky had not stopped crying. But then, silence, the kind that lives deep in the bones of the earth. So they left as suddenly as they came. No farewell, no justice, only hoof prints in the dust, blood on the trees, and the scent of something sacred torn apart. Ewan waited until the sky turned purple. She pulled herself forward on all fours, past the places where the other women had lain. But many were still unmoving, so she did not call out. There was no voice left in her throat. She followed the trail of flattened grass, the one the men had used most often, past the broken spears and toward the edge of the forest, where she had last heard a baby cry. There, beneath a ridge of sun-baked earth, the ground was unsettled, not dug with care, but scraped at with tools made for cutting trees, not touching sacred soil. So her hands moved like they remembered something her mind had forgotten. She dug, but not far down. Her fingers touched the skin, cold, dry, light as bird bones. Her breath left her. It was Garu, his tiny face tilted up toward the sky, eyes shut, mouth slightly open. She knew that look. He'd worn it when he napped under her arm on hot days. Someone had placed stones around his head, not with respect, but for a cruel game. So she cradled him now, pressing him to her chest as if warmth might wake him. She rocked him, humming the same song, but her voice cracked on the final note. She stayed there a long while. No one came. The sun began to rise again, staining the horizon red. So with trembling arms, she stood. The forest path bent towards the creek, the one where she had bathed him when he was only days old, where dragonflies danced on the water and the reeds whispered in the wind. So she walked that way now, barefoot, her dress torn and streaked with dry blood. Garu's lifeless body lay against her shoulder, wrapped in only clean cloth she could find. So she stepped into the water. The cold sent shivers up her spine, but she welcomed it. The current whispered softly, as if it remembered her. The creek accepted her. The old spirit stirred, slow, sorrowful, as the sky turned pale with morning. So how did the story make you feel? Comment below. It's hard, isn't it? An overwhelming emotion of sadness, maybe horror, anger. I found it hard because it's true. I find it hard because it happened not very far from here, from where I live right now. I find it hard because you want to do something. And what is that something? Well, my outlet is the production of this artwork, because the story can no longer take residence in my head. I have something to say, and now something to share with you. Yep, just with you. That's why I created this channel. In a perfect world, this artwork wouldn't need to exist. But since it does now, I urge you, if this image moved you, disturbed you, made you feel something, don't just scroll on, buy a print. I know even my family are watching this. Hey, buy a print. I'm sure you're proud of me. Anyway, my art won't undo atrocities, but I'm sure when you buy a print, it can probably keep my lights on. So when you do receive your print, hang it and let it marinate on your wall. Maybe next to that pretty painting of sunflowers, or that mythical god holding his trident high while riding on his white Pegasus. Just let it be. It only attracts those who it attracts. A charismatic magnet that demands attention in due course. So when your guests come over, laughing, drinking, comfortable in their curated piece, they'll turn, see it, and freeze. Their smiles will falter, their minds will race, and all they'll manage to say is, "Hey bro, what the fuck?"